Hello and welcome to Miniature Adventures. I'm Big Lee, and first I'd like to start off by saying Happy New Year. So here we are, 2022. We survived 2021, but did our resolutions survive the year? Now, way back at the beginning of last year, I did a video about resolutions, and I talked a lot about keeping them achievable, having very clear objectives, and more importantly having scalable objectives so that you could claim a victory even if you haven't quite met what you wanted to do. And I thought it would be worth re-looking at some of what I talked about then, and talking about my own resolutions and what I'd achieved. Usual one for me, and it's a resolution that usually comes up most years for me, is I want to play more games, I want to paint more minis, and I'm going to try and spend a little bit less. Well, one of those I didn't meet, so you can imagine which one that is. I definitely played more games, and I've definitely painted more in the last year. Part of that fueled by lockdown. Having a late show season meant I spent a lot of money in the last part of the last quarter of the year. On all of it good, because I've always taken the attitude that I try and buy what I'm going to paint. So I'm very focused about what I spend my money on. There's always a little bit of impulse purchasing in there when you go to shows or even when you're scanning online. But on the whole, I try to buy what I want to work on, and I do work on it. My main objective now is to try and waste less, because I always end up overbuying something that I need. So I'm trying to make sure that I buy it. Perhaps my resolution for this year ought to be, let's try and just buy exactly what you need rather than going mad and finding you've got a load of spare metal at the end of a project. But definitely in the last year, I've painted a lot more for a lot more games than I would do in a normal year. And part of that has been because I've had a little bit more time. Lockdown at the beginning of the year meant a lot of our normal weekend activities didn't take place, so I had more time for painting and doing these silly videos. And ironically as well, that also meant I got a lot more gaming in. And as anyone who's followed my blog or followed these videos will know, I've done a lot more solo wargaming. A massive more this year, or last year, 2021, than I have in any previous year. And I'm hoping that's going to continue, because it's something that I can do when my games table isn't being used as a workbench. I can set up games here, play them over a course of a few days. It's something I was never able to do before I got my own games room. So having a space of my own where I can set a game up and play it slowly over a period of days or even weeks sometimes, it's been revolutionary a bit to my hobby. And if you're lucky enough to have a similar game space, then you're very, very lucky indeed. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't have that for various reasons, and all of them good ones. But if you do have a spare room, consider converting it. See if you can get your significant other to sign off on the project, because it will be a space that you will use and will make a huge difference to your hobby. So when it comes to your own resolutions, what I discussed last year is still very relevant. It's about keeping your resolutions achievable, realistic, but having some sort of a plan so that you can correctly organise yourself. We can all get enthusiastic and come up with grand plans for what we're going to do, but if you're not organising and planning it carefully, it's very easy for that project to get way out of control, and it can become self-defeating. You can end up finding yourself losing interest in it, or straying into a different period or project entirely, because you haven't been focused enough on the first one. And so I've always been promoting and talking about in some of my videos over the last couple of years about being organised, careful planning, and there's still room for improvement with me, I assure you, but I do try to plan out what I want to do, and so I have a clear objective. I have a finish line. I mean, no project's ever really finished, but I know what I want to achieve over a given period of time, so I can then plan out exactly how I'm going to do it. And the same goes for your resolutions. So your resolution might be, I'm going to paint this army or this particular force over the coming year, or I'm going to get into a particular game set. Fine, but have a bit of planning time beforehand so you can work out what it is you actually want to achieve. Having a clear end line really does help you focus and plan out how you need to get stuff achieved. And another thing that I mentioned a lot in the last year's video about resolutions is trying to find regular time for painting, and I strongly recommend trying to get yourself involved in some sort of collective painting effort. Now, as I've mentioned probably loads of times, you're probably bored of hearing this, but the Rejects, my little group that we meet up tend to meet up on a Monday evening for a paint and chat session. You know, it's an ad hoc thing. People join one week, can't make it the next, doesn't really matter. But some of us don't. Some of the people that take part just want to have a chat and aren't doing any painting. Others are doing other sorts of hobbies while they're chatting to us. A handful of us are regularly painting during those paint and chat sessions, and it's helped me get some painting done during that part of the year when I don't normally paint a lot. So again, I've mentioned before that I'm taking part in the Analog Hobbies Painting Challenge. I tend to do that every year, and I get the vast majority of my painting done in that 3-month period of the challenge. It's a very good way of me focusing and getting a lot done. And this year's no exception. I've got a big project that I want to get done by the end of the painting challenge, and hopefully by the time I get to the end of the painting challenge, I'll have achieved my target. I'll have finished a project to the level that I want. There's always room for more, but I've got an end goal in mind, and the painting challenge is going to help me achieve that. But during the other 9 months of the year, the paint and chat sessions with my mates is helping me get on with other things. You know, I might find projects and little things I want to paint for some of the other periods and games that I play. And that keeps things ticking along. It's a great way to get motivated, and particularly if you can't meet up as a group. And for a large chunk of this year, that wasn't possible. Or last year, I've got to keep saying last year, it wasn't possible. And you know, so if you're not able to attend a club, for instance, or see your mates on a regular basis, it's a great way of filling that social gap, and you know, a chance to talk rubbish to each other, and thoroughly enjoyable. So, you know, heartily recommend that, as I did last year. So, you know, in that respect, nothing's really changed. I still think that when it comes to your New Year's resolutions, you need achievable goals, you need a plan, and you need a method for getting it done. Now, that may be taking part in a challenge, or it may be paint and chat sessions, or just reserving a particular evening a week when you're going to sit down and say, right, Thursday evenings is going to be my painting night, or whatever it might be. Whatever it is you need to do so you can plug on with that project and get it done. Having a clear plan helps you overcome the inertia that we've all encountered at one point or another. You know, starting a project, you know, sometimes you can get right into it and then you find yourself getting low motivation, and a project can stall. And having a very clear plan, you know, I'm going to paint on such and such a night, or we're going to have a painting session, or whatever it might be, can really help you get over that inertia and get you back in. And once you start painting, the paint flows very easily. You just need that little extra oomph, that little extra motivation. And again, you know, this is why I love the painting challenge. I get a lot done in those 3 months of that painting challenge. And there's lots of other competitions and challenges going on during the rest of the year, so there's always something to find. There's been a load over the last 12 months for obvious reasons. So, you know, go out, see if you can find one. Or if you can't find one that really fits your niche, what you want, get your mates together and do a little challenge between yourselves. That's how the Analog Hobbies Painting Challenge got started. A group of mates decided to challenge each other, and it grew from there. Now, you might not be planning on running a competition with 100+ painters taking part in the future, but even if it was just you and your 3 or 4 mates, challenge each other, get yourself motivated. You know, it's well worth it, particularly if you're going to share those results with the painting community through blogs and vlogs and so on. You know, it's a worthwhile activity in itself, and in the process you help to achieve some of those objectives and those resolutions that you made at the beginning of the year. So my resolutions for the coming year are pretty much more of the same. I'm definitely going to try and be getting some more gaming in. I want to do a lot more solo games this year, and one of my resolutions is to do more of the quick strike videos, because I really like that format for after action reports. So I don't think I'll be doing long format after action reports anymore. Personally, I think there's a lot more work involved in trying to make an after action report short. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself. I did 3 quick strike videos last year. Thoroughly enjoyed doing them, but an enormous amount of work. I've got one in the planning stage, which I'll probably do after the challenge is finished, because there's a lot of work involved. You know, when I did a 10-minute after action video, it could take me 40 hours or more of work to put together, between the filming and editing and script writing and so on. But thoroughly enjoyable, almost a hobby within a hobby, and so that I definitely want to do more of once the painting challenge is over, because during the painting challenge I'm going to get the bulk of my other resolution, which is to get my French Foreign Legion turn of the century stuff painted. So I've already made big progress on the Berbers, and I'm sort of reserving the Legionnaires towards the end of the painting challenge as my treat. I won't be saying that when I'm trying to paint uniforms and little details on them, but I'm putting off painting them to later in the challenge as a sort of an incentive for me to get to that point. And I've been making great guns, despite it being really rough over the Christmas period. I managed to get quite a lot of painting done. None of us really felt like getting out and about, and of course the guidance is try and stay away from other people, where it's not very difficult for an antisocial bugger like me. So I've spent a lot of time getting some painting done. I had a bit of time off of work over the Christmas period as well, which has been great. So there you have it again, another random ramble about New Year's resolutions. So basically, be very clear what you want to do. Set yourself some achievable goals by planning it out and working out what you need to achieve, and then find some way of motivating yourself. Don't set yourself too many resolutions. I mean, I think that's where a lot of us go wrong. We set ourselves a long list of resolutions. Some of them are pretty grandiose, and you need to be realistic, because you're not going to achieve them, and then you get all dispirited if you don't achieve them. So the key to getting them done is to make them realistic, make them achievable. You know, make them modest if it needs to be. If that's not your way of getting it done, then power to your elbow. So there you have it. Another random chat about New Year's resolutions, pretty much similar to the advice I gave last year. So if you enjoyed the video, if you've got, you'd like to leave some comments, please do in the comments below or over on my blog, Big Lee's Miniature Adventures. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and share. And if you want to keep up to date with my weekly ramblings, click the bell notification icon. So until next week, look after yourself, get as much gaming and painting as you can, and of course, keep rolling high.